Hi students, in this video we will discuss about the analysis of bistable multivibrator. The other name for bistable multivibrator is multi-Ehlers Jordan circuit. Multi-Ehlers Jordan circuit. This is named after its inventors, and it is also called as a two toggle circuit because it is changing from one state to another state whenever we are applying a triggering signal. So it is also called as a trigger circuit. The other names for bistable multivibrators is multi-Ehlers Jordan circuit, named after its inventors, two toggle circuit or trigger circuit. Now we can design the bistable multivibrator with the help of NPN transistors. We require two NPN transistors along with DC supplies. So we require a DC supply here, DC supplies with a positive and negative DC supply, and we require two cross coupled resistors. That is, output of the first transistor is connected to the input of next transistor, and the input of the second transistor is connected, the output of second transistor is connected to the input of first transistors. So the one type of bistable multivibrator is collector coupled bistable multivibrator. Collector coupled bistable multivibrator means the collector of the first transistor is connected to the base of the second transistor, and the collector of the second transistor is connected to the base of first transistor. The collector coupled bistable multivibrators are classified into two types. One is fixed bias bistable multivibrator, and next one is self bias bistable multivibrator. So we will discuss about fixed bias bistable multivibrator here. So the fixed bias bistable multivibrator, will be designed with the help of two NPN transistors. They are cross coupled. So let us consider two NPN transistors here with identical characteristics. Two NPN transistors with identical characteristics, and we will take the outputs across the collector terminals of the two transistors, Q1 and Q2, and let us take two collector resistors RC and with a DC supply plus VCC here. Now the cross coupled connection means the output of the collector of the first transistor will be connected to the base of second transistor through a resistor. This is called DC coupling. In case of bistable multivibrator, we will use a DC coupling. Again, the collector of the second transistor is connected to the base of first transistor through a resistor. This is also a DC coupling. So that is called, in case of bistable multivibrator, we will use two resistors to connect output of first stage to the next stage here. Okay, so now this is collector terminal and emitter base of the first transistor. Now these are grounded, emitter terminals are grounded here. Now we will use two more resistors here with a DC supply. DC supply is minus VBB here. Let us consider the currents here, the currents flowing in this circuitry. So the currents flowing here are, let us take this current is I1, I2, and these resistors are R1, equal resistances will connect here, that is here R2. Now let us consider the current flowing in this branch is I3, here I4, and the current flowing in this branch is I5. Let us consider this current is I6. So these are the currents related to the bistable multivibrator, and we will take the output across the collectors of two transistors. VC2 is one output, another output we are taking across the collector of the first transistor. So this is the complete circuit of a bistable multivibrator. Now we will see the principle of operation of this bistable multivibrator. If you observe here, now this is the potential at this point is VC1, and the potential at this point is VC2. Now if you apply the potential difference here, the potential difference divided by resistance will give the current. So what is I1 here? I1 is equal to VCC minus VC1, potential difference divided by resistance. It is an I1 current. What is I2 current here? I2 is equal to, it is a potential difference divided by resistance. What is the potential difference here? VCC minus VC2 divided by RC. Now this bistable multivibrator will works on the principle of no two transistors will have almost identical, perfectly identical characteristics, because there is a possibility of internal fluctuations, there is a possibility of changing in these currents. Under ideal conditions, the currents I1 and I2 must be equal because this is an identical symmetrical circuit. But what happens here is due to internal fluctuations, there is a possibility of one of the currents will be slightly greater than other current. For example, if you consider I1 greater than I2, what happens? We will see the principle of operation here. So this is a complete diagram of a bistable multivibrator, and we will apply an external triggering to change the state of a bistable multivibrator. So we can take the output across the collector of the second transistor, or we can take output across the collector of the first transistors here. Okay, whenever we want to change the state of a signal, we need to apply the triggering pulses here. These triggering pulses are applied to the base of the first transistor, and reset is the triggering signal is applied to the base of second transistor. So we will see what is the significance of these triggering signals. So first we will analyze the circuit operation first. So as we know, I1 is the current which is flowing in the collector, this resistance RC, which is the potential difference VCC minus VC1 divided by RC, and I1 unto RC is equal to VCC minus VC1. Therefore VC1 is equal to VCC minus I1 into RC. So let us take this is equation 1. Now when we apply the when we find the current equation here, I2 is equal to, it's a potential difference VCC minus, here the potential is VC2, VCC minus VC2 divided by RC. So therefore I2 into RC is equal to VCC minus VCE2, and here VC2 is equal to VCC minus I2 into VCC minus I2 into RC. Let us take this as an equation 2. Now we will see the circuit operation. This no two transistors will have an equal characteristics ideally, practically, but there is a possibility of changing in one of the currents. That means due to internal fluctuations of these electrical and electronic components, there is a possibility of one of the currents is slightly greater than other current, though this particular circuit is symmetrical. So there is a possibility which happens here. Let us take I1 is slightly greater than I2. So that means I1 is slightly increased. What happens to the outputs VC2 and VC1, and what happens to the transistors Q1 and Q2? So due to internal fluctuations, let us consider I1 is slightly increased. If I1 is increased, what is the drop across this RC? I1 into RC. If I1 increases, I1 RC drop is also increases. Now what is VC1, which just now we calculated, it is VCC minus I1 into RC. If I1 into RC is increases, this is subtracted from VCC. So if it is increases means VC1 is decreases. So if this happens, what happens to the next? VC1 is the potential is we are applying to the base of second transistor. That is, the potential at the base of second transistor is because of the VC1, because this is directly connected to the base of second transistor through the resistor. So if VC1 is decreases means VBE2, the base potential of the second transistor, will also be decreases. If the base voltage is decreases, the current flowing to the base of the second transistor will also be decreases. That is, IB2 decreases. As IB2 decreases, what happens to the collector current IC2? IC2 is nothing but, we know IC2 is beta times of IB2, because it is a common emitter transistor. IC, the collector current, is beta times of base current. Beta here is called current gain or current amplification factor. As IB2 decreases, what happens to the IC2? IC2 will also be decreases here. So as IC2 decreases, what is the relationship between I2 and IC2 here? Actually I2 is equal to IC2 plus I4 by applying KCL at node 2. Let us take this as a node 2, this is node 1. At node 2, if you apply the KCL, I2 is equal to IC2 plus I4. As the collector current decreases, the overall current I2 decreases. Therefore, I2 decreases here. As I2 decreases, what happens? Now we have a relation for VC2. We have already found it is VC2 is equal to VCC minus I2 into RC. As I2 decreases, this I2 RC product will be decreases. If this is decreases, it will be subtracted from VCC. So if it is decreasing means VC2 is increasing. So VC2 is increasing means VC2 is the potential which is directly, this is the voltage which is directly applied at the base of first transistor. Therefore VB1 increases. As VB1 increases, what happens to the base current of the first transistor? IB1 will also be increases, because the base current is responsible and base current is produced because of base voltage. So as IB1 increases, what happens to the collector current of first transistor IC1 increases, because IC1 is nothing but beta times of IB1. IC1 increases. As IC1 increases, what happens to the current I1? I1 will also be increases, because I1 is equal to, as we know, at node 1, if you apply the KCL, I1 is equal to, it is a combination of two currents, I3 plus IC1. As IC1 increases, I1 increases. That means, so we start with an I1 increment slightly, that it will be increases still more. So the I1 is still goes on increases, and I2 will be goes on decreases here. The I1 goes on increases and I2 goes on decreases. Now we will see finally what happens. So as I1 keep on increasing and I2 keeps on decreasing, so as per the analysis we have taken, I1 is slightly greater. So if I1 keep on increasing means IC1 is increasing, so I2 increases means that is IC2 is decreasing. So that means in this case, if the collector current of the first transistor is goes on increases means Q1 will becomes on and Q2 becomes off. So that means Q1, transistor Q1 will be considered as an on switch, and the transistor Q2 is considered as off. So when we take the transistors Q1 and Q2 as in the saturation region, and this will be entering into the saturation, and Q2 is the transistor will enters into cutoff region. So if this is an open circuit here, now this will be open circuited. If you see, this is open circuit here, because the I2 is keep on decreasing, it is open circuited, and this transistor Q1 becomes on. Now it is like a short circuit. If it is short circuited, the potential at this point VC1 becomes equal to 0, because it is short circuit. Across short circuit terminals the voltage is 0. Here it is open circuited and I2 is still goes on decreases, finally it becomes 0. If it is 0 means what VC2 is approximately equal to VCC, that is it is equal to VCC. There is no drop across this resistor. VC2 will be reaching to the value of VCC. These are the two output levels. This is the low voltage level and this is high voltage level. So we will see the corresponding waveforms of output voltages VC1 and VC2 here. So if you see the corresponding output voltages, the VC1 is output voltage with respect to this is 0, and VC2 is the output voltage across the collector terminal, and it is becoming high and it is equal to VCC. These two states of a multivibrator are called stable states. Either we can take the output across the collector of the first transistor, or we can take the output across the collector of the second transistor, and these states are called stable state. So these states are indefinitely continuing and it will tend up to infinity until if we are not applying any external triggering to it. So when we apply an external triggering, so there are two triggerings we are taking here, set and reset. So if you apply the set pulse to the first transistor, what happens? And what there is a possibility of the change in the state. Again we apply a reset pulse, there is a possibility of change in the state. Now we will discuss these two things. So we have discussed up to this without applying any external triggering pulses. So for example, what is the outputs we got here? Q1 goes into on state and Q2 becomes off. This is one of the stable states of bistable multivibrator. If Q1 is on means VC1 is equal to 0 and VC2 is equal to VCC. This is called stable state, and if you are not applying any external triggering signal to the multivibrator, and this will be the permanent state. For example, if you apply an external triggering pulse, this is a negative triggering. So if you apply negative triggering to the base of first transistor, now what happens here? We will see the principle of operation here when we apply the external triggering pulse. When we apply external triggering pulse to the base of transistor Q1, that is the negative voltage. If you apply the negative voltage, what happens to the base potential? Decreases. If VB1 decreases, what happens to the IB1? Base current obviously decreases, because the base current is produced because of the applied base voltage at these terminals. Base current decreases means IC1 is also decreases because IC1 is equal to beta times of IB1. As IC1 decreases, IB1 will also be, IB1 decreases means IC1 decreases. As IC1 decreases, what happens to this potential at this point? So as IC1 decreases, what happens to I1? I1 is nothing but it is IC1 plus I3. Applying the nodal analysis here at this terminal at node 1, I1 is equal to, incoming current is equal to outgoing currents. There are two currents here, I3, and the current flowing in this branch is IC1. So as IC1 decreases, what happens to the I1? I1 also decreases. As I1 decreases, we have a relation already we found that VC1 is equal to VCC minus I1 into RC. As this I1 into RC potential, this value is decreasing, because I1 decreases means I1 into RC is also decreasing. I1 into RC decreases means what happens to the collector potential? Collector potential of the first transistor will be increases. As VC1 increases, now whatever we are having, this voltage is directly applied to the base of second transistor. So this potential is increasing means VB2 is also increasing. VB2 is increased. VB2 increases means the current applied to the base of the second transistor will also be increases. As IB2 increases, what happens to the IC2? IC2 will also be increases, because IC2 is equal to beta times of IB2. IC2 increases. As IC2 increases, what happens to this current I2? I2, as we know, it is a combination of IC2 plus I4. Applying nodal analysis at this point, the two currents leaving are IC2 and I4. As IC2 is increasing, what happens to the current I2? I2 will also be increases. As I2 increases, what happens to the potential at this point? VC2. VC2 is equal to VCC minus I2 into RC. As I2 RC increases means VC2 will be decreases, because it is subtracting from VCC. This value is increasing means VC2 will be decreases. As VC2 decreases means this VC2 is the voltage which is applied cross coupled to the first transistor, and the voltage at this VB1 is still decreases. We started with the condition with VB1 decreases, and we end with the condition VB1 still decreases. So it decreases means IB1 is also still decreasing, and the collector current decreases. This makes the transistor Q1 to enter into cutoff region, and this IC2 is keep on increasing. IC2 keep on increasing means I2 is increasing. This makes the transistor Q2 is entering into saturation region. This is entering into saturation region. Okay, so as we concluded here, the Q1 will be cut off, and it is considered as off, and Q2 becomes entering into saturation region, and it is considered as an on switch. So when Q1 is off means open circuited, and this will be short circuited. So when Q1 is open circuited, what will be the potentials here? This is open circuited, this here it is open circuited, and this will be short circuited here. This transistor Q1 is almost short circuited because it is acting like an on switch in saturation region, and this is like open circuit. So if it is short circuited, VC2 potential becomes equal to 0, and this is open means the current I1 is decreasing. As we discussed, I1 is decreasing means the potential at this will be almost 0, and VC1 will be almost equal to VCC. VC1 is equal to VCC, and there is no current here. As we discussed, I1 is equal to VCC minus VC1 divided by RC. When I1 is equal to 0, VC1 is equal to VCC. Now what happens? We will see the waveforms, output waveforms, when we apply a triggering signal here. So as we discussed the inputs here, this is VC1. It is initially, we discussed, this is in off state, this is like 0. Now VC2 is equal to VCC. Initially we have come to the conclusions of these two, and when we apply a triggering pulse at this location, for example at this point of time we applied a negative triggering pulse. This negative triggering pulse is called set pulse. So what happens to the VC1? VC1 will be changed to VCC, and it is changed from low state to high state, that is from low voltage level to high voltage level, that is from binary 0 to binary 1. Now what happens to the output VC2 at by applying a triggering signal? VC2 becomes 0. VC2 becomes 0 means it is coming from VCC to 0, high voltage level to low voltage level. There is a transition in the states whenever we are applying an external triggering pulse. This pulse is called set pulse, and it is applied to the transistor Q1. And if you apply the reset pulse at the transistor Q2, again the change of states happens here. Let us see that analysis. So by the application of set triggering pulse, we have come to the conclusion Q1 is off, Q2 is on. Q1 is off means it is VC1 is equal to VCC, VC2 is equal to 0. Now we are applying, for example, at a after some time duration, we are applying a negative triggering pulse, that is called reset pulse, which is applied to the base of the second transistor. If you apply the triggering pulse here, what will be the outputs here? So when there is an application of this reset pulse, reset triggering pulse, by applying reset triggering pulse, what will be the condition of the output voltages here? So and what are the conditions of transistors, whether they will be on or off? So when we apply a negative triggering pulse to the base of the second transistor, what happens? The potential VB2 will be decreases. As VB2 decreases, what happens to IB2? IB2, base current decreases. Base current decreases means collector current decreases, because it is beta times of IB2. As IC2 decreases, what happens to the I2? I2 will also be decreases, because I2 is equal to IC2 plus I4. As I2 decreases, what happens to the potential at this point? VC2. VC2 is nothing but it is VCC minus I2 into RC. This I2 into RC decreases means VC2 increases. As the collector voltage is increases, it is directly applied to the base of the first transistor, therefore VB1 increases. As VB1 increases, what happens to the base current? Base current of the first transistor is increasing. IB1 increases. IC1 is also increases. IC1 is beta times of IB1. IC1 increases means I1 is increasing, because I1 is equal to, as we know, it is IC1 plus I3 at this node. I3, IC1 is the current which is flowing here. As IC1 increases, this I1 increases. As I1 increases, what happens to this transistor? Transistor Q1 will be entering into the on state, and I2 will be decreases means Q2 will be entering into the off state. So I1 increases means this potential, again we'll see this case, I1 is equal to, I1 increases means I1 into RC will also be increases. As I1 into RC increases, what happens to the potential? VC1? VC1 is equal to VCC minus I1 into RC. This is increasing means VC1 decreases. VC1 decreases means this is directly applied to the base of the second transistor, so that VB2 will also be decreases. We have started with the condition of VB2 decreasing, and finally we also we have come to the conclusion VB2 decreases. That means this makes the transistor Q2 becomes off, and I1 increases means IC1 increases means the transistor Q1 will be entering into on state. This is off means it is in cutoff region, and Q1 is on means it is saturation, by applying negative triggering pulse or reset pulse to the base of second transistor. So by applying the negative triggering pulse, Q1 becomes on, Q2 becomes off. Q1 is on means it is considered as a short circuit, and Q2 becomes off. This is open circuited. So this is open, and again this will be short here. If it is short, VC1, the potential VC1 becomes 0, because across the short circuit terminals it is 0, and this is open means this I2 current is almost approximately 0, and VCC potential is directly appearing across the open circuit terminals. So VC2 becomes equal to VCC. The output of multivibrator is nothing but the outputs we are taking across the collector terminals of two transistors here. Now we apply the set and reset pulse here. So for example, this is set pulse we have considered at this. This is a negative triggering pulse we have applied here. The negative triggering pulse applied at a particular duration. Now another pulse we have considered is a reset after some time duration. So initially, what is the condition of VC1 and VC2? VC1 is the output voltage across the collector of the first transistor. Initially the Q1 is on. Q1 is on means output is 0. At this particular point, when we apply the negative triggering pulse, the Q1 is on, output is 0, short circuited. When we apply a negative triggering pulse, the output becomes equal to VCC. It is VCC because the Q1 is off here. Q1 is off. Next, again when we apply the negative triggering pulse, what happens to the Q1? It enters into the saturation region and it becomes on, short circuited. If it is short circuited, the output becomes equal to 0. Again Q1 is on here. Now if you see the output VC2, the output across the collector of the second transistor, initially the Q2 is in off condition. Off means the output will be maximum. Open circuited means maximum VCC, high voltage. When we apply a negative triggering pulse, then the Q2 transistor becomes on. Q2 is on means output becomes equal to 0. Again we apply a negative triggering pulse. This is the reset pulse. This is set pulse. Again this will be having a transition from low voltage level to high voltage level. This is when Q2 becomes off. Again here it is off. So this is generating the pulse waveform by applying the external triggering pulses. Again if you consider the triggering pulse at this location, set pulse For example, you consider the set pulse and it is applied to the first transistor. Now what happens, again there is a transition in the voltage, that is from low to high for the first transistor VC1 output. Again this will have a transition, and during this process it will be generating the pulse waveforms. So it is generating a pulse waveforms, and these pulse waveforms are used in case of communication systems, and they can be used in case of most of the applications where the counting is required. In case of digital circuits, for counting operations we will use bistable multivibrators. I hope you understand this lecture. Thank you for watching this video.